In the small, quiet village of Millbrook, nestled among rolling green hills, a young woman named Emma Thompson lived a life of quiet determination. At 28, she carried the weight of her family's struggles on her slender shoulders. Her days a delicate balance between survival and hope. Emma's mornings began before the first light touched the misty streets. Her tiny bedroom, barely larger than a closet, held the few possessions she treasured most: a worn photograph of her mother, a chipped mug from her childhood, and a nursing school brochure she'd kept for years. The photograph was her most precious belonging. Her mother's warm smile seemed to whisper encouragement, even though she had passed away 2 years earlier. The bakery where Emma worked was a small, warm haven in the early morning hours. Her hands, rough from years of hard work, kneaded dough with a practiced rhythm. The owner, Mr. Peter Williams, appreciated her dedication. He knew Emma worked 2 jobs, mornings at the bakery and nights as a cleaner, and admired her unwavering spirit. Life had not been kind to Emma. After her mother's unexpected illness and death, she had inherited a mountain of medical bills and family debt. Other young women her age were planning weddings, traveling, or building careers. Emma was simply trying to survive, to keep her mother's final promise of a better future alive. Her tiny apartment was a testament to her frugal life. Every penny was carefully saved, every expense meticulously tracked in a small notebook with faded pages. The walls were bare except for a calendar and a single motivational poster her mother had given her years ago. "Never give up," it read, in bold letters that seemed to challenge the world. At the bakery, Emma worked alongside Margaret, an older woman who had become something of a mother figure to her. Margaret would often slip her an extra pastry or a warm cup of tea, understanding the silent struggle behind Emma's determined smile. "You're going to do great things," she would say, patting Emma's hand. The village of Millbrook was small but observant. People noticed Emma's consistent hard work, her quiet resilience. She walked to work in all weathers, rain, shine, or freezing cold, her second-hand coat pulled tight, her worn shoes making a soft rhythm on the cobblestone streets. Her dream of becoming a nurse burned bright, like a small flame that refused to be extinguished. She had saved every spare penny, dreaming of the day she could enroll in nursing classes. The local community college had a program, but the fees seemed insurmountable. Yet Emma refused to let hope die. Evenings were a blur of cleaning jobs. Office buildings, local shops, community centers. Emma cleaned them all with the same careful attention she gave to everything in her life. Her colleagues respected her silent strength. They saw a young woman who never complained, who always showed up, who carried her hardships with grace. At night, in her small apartment, Emma would study. Old textbooks borrowed from the library, notes scribbled on recycled paper, her lamp casting, a soft light as she prepared for a future that seemed just out of reach. Sometimes exhaustion would overwhelm her, and she would fall asleep with a book on her chest, her mother's photograph watching over her. The village knew her story without her saying a word. Emma Thompson, the girl who worked 2 jobs, who cared. For her dying mother, who refused to let circumstances define her future. She was a whisper of hope, a living proof that determination could overcome seemingly impossible odds. As winter approached, bringing with it the promise of harder times, Emma remained unbroken. Her spirit was like the small plants that grew between cobblestones, fragile yet incredibly strong, finding life in the most challenging spaces. Her story was not one of grand gestures or dramatic moments. It was a story of everyday courage, of small victories, of a young woman who believed that her current situation was not her final destination. Emma knew that somewhere beyond the misty hills of Millbrook, a better future was waiting, and she was going to reach it, one determined step at a time. The photograph of her mother seemed to smile. Somewhere, somehow, she was watching, proud of the daughter who refused to give up. The winter came to Millbrook with a harsh, unforgiving breath. Emma's tiny apartment, already small and worn, now felt like a freezing box. One particularly cold morning, her ancient heating system made a terrible grinding noise and then fell silent. Complete darkness, complete cold. Mr. Richard Harris, her landlord, was not a kind man. When Emma explained her heating problem, he simply shrugged. "Fix it yourself, or pay the full repair cost," he said, his voice as cold as the winter wind. The repair would cost more than Emma earned in 2 months. At the bakery, her hands began to shake while preparing bread. The cold had seeped into her bones. Margaret, the older baker, noticed Emma's trembling fingers and her pale face. "You look terrible," she said, wrapping a warm scarf around Emma's neck. Emma's nights became a battle against freezing temperatures. She wore multiple layers, 3 sweaters, 2 pairs of socks, her mother's old woolen coat. She would huddle near a small candle, trying to generate some warmth. Her study materials were spread around her, but concentration became difficult when all she could think about was staying warm. The community started noticing her struggle. Old Mrs. Elizabeth Thompson, no relation, would sometimes leave hot soup outside her door. The postman would knock a little harder, checking if she was okay. The village understood struggle. The village protected its own. Her cleaning jobs became more challenging. Night shifts in empty office buildings felt like walking through an ice cave. Her breath would create small clouds in the freezing air. She would move quickly, cleaning to generate body heat, her hands red and painful from the cold. One particularly difficult night, Emma discovered her savings were almost gone. The potential heating repair seemed impossible. She sat on her small bed, surrounded by her mother's photograph and her nursing school dreams, and allowed herself a moment of quiet tears. But Emma was not someone who stayed defeated for long. She remembered her mother's words, "Challenges are just opportunities waiting to be discovered." She began making a plan. She would ask for extra shifts at the bakery. She would reduce her expenses even further. The local library became her warm refuge. During her free hours, she would sit near the heating vents, studying and warming her cold hands. The librarian, Mr. Thomas Baker, would sometimes bring her a hot cup of tea, understanding her silent struggle. Her colleagues at the bakery and cleaning services began to help her in small ways. An extra sandwich here, a warm pair of gloves there. No grand gestures, just quiet, consistent support. They saw her determination, her refusal to be broken by circumstances. Emma started learning basic repair skills from YouTube videos at the library. If she couldn't afford a professional repair, she would learn to fix the heating herself. She borrowed tools from kind neighbors, watched repair tutorials, and practiced in her limited free time. The village watched her. Not with pity, but with respect. Emma represented something powerful, the ability to face challenges with dignity, with hope. She was young, she was struggling, but she was unbreakable. Her nursing school dream remained her beacon. Every cold night, every difficult moment was another step towards her goal. She would read her medical books, imagining herself in a warm hospital, helping others, proving that her current circumstances were temporary. As weeks passed, Emma's resilience began to shine. She learned basic heating repair, managed to fix part of the system, and found creative ways to keep her small apartment warm. She negotiated with Mr. Harris, showing him her partial repairs, proving her commitment. The village saw more than just a young woman fixing a heating system. They saw hope. They saw determination. They saw the promise of a future built not on ease but on hard work and unwavering spirit. Emma's story was just beginning. The cold would not break her. The challenges would not define her. She was writing her own story, one difficult day at a time. Her mother's photograph continued to watch, a silent witness to her daughter's incredible journey. The community center of Millbrook stood like a beacon of hope, its red brick walls holding generations of stories. Mrs. Elizabeth Wright, a retired teacher with silver hair and kind eyes, had been watching Emma for months. She saw more than just a young woman working multiple jobs. She saw potential waiting to bloom. One quiet Thursday evening, as Emma finished her cleaning shift at the community center, Mrs. Wright approached her. The old teacher's movements were slow, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Emma Thompson," she called softly, her voice carrying years of wisdom. Emma turned, slightly surprised. She had always respected Mrs. Wright from a distance, knowing her as a prominent figure in the village who had taught generations of local children. "Yes, Mrs. Wright," she responded, her hand still holding her cleaning supplies. "I've been watching you," Mrs. Wright said, offering Emma a warm cup of tea. The gesture was unexpected, making Emma feel slightly uncomfortable. Mrs. Wright continued, "Your hard work, your determination. It reminds me of myself when I was young." The conversation that followed would change Emma's life forever. Mrs. Wright was part of a local educational support committee. They had been searching for someone truly deserving of a scholarship, someone who demonstrated exceptional commitment and potential. "We have a scholarship program for mature students," Mrs. Wright explained, sliding a folder across the small table. "It's not much, but it could help you start your nursing education." Her eyes twinkled with a mixture of hope and challenge. Emma's hands trembled as she opened the folder. The scholarship would cover part of her tuition, something she had only dreamed about. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she fought them back. Years of hard work, of silent struggle, seemed to converge in this moment. The village had always been more than just a collection of houses. It was a living, breathing community that looked after its own. People knew each other's stories, understood each other's struggles, and now they were extending a hand to Emma. News spread quickly. Margaret from the bakery heard about the scholarship and brought Emma a celebratory pastry. Mr. Peter Williams gave her an extra shift, understanding she would need additional funds. The postman would give her an encouraging smile. The local shopkeepers would nod with respect. Emma's evenings changed. Instead of just cleaning and surviving, she now had hope. She began preparing for her nursing entrance exams, studying with a renewed energy. The community center offered her free study space, and Mrs. Wright would sometimes sit with her, offering guidance. The local library became her second home. Mr. Thomas Baker, the librarian, would help her find resources, recommend study materials, and ensure she had everything she needed. "You're going to be an excellent nurse," he would say, believing in her more than she believed in herself. Her landlord, Mr. Richard Harris, who had previously been unsympathetic, heard about her scholarship. Something changed in his demeanor. He reduced her rent slightly, a small gesture that spoke volumes about the community's support. Emma's journey was no longer just her own. The entire village of Millbrook had invested in her dream. They saw in her a representation of hope, of what could be achieved through hard work and community support. Her mother's photograph, which she kept with her always, seemed to smile brighter. The dream they had shared was slowly becoming a reality. Emma was proving that with determination, support, and community, anything was possible. The scholarship was more than just financial support. It was a message that said, "We see you, we believe in you. You matter." In a world that often felt indifferent, Millbrook was showing that human connection could change lives. Emma's story became an inspiration. Young people in the village began to see education not as a distant dream but as an achievable goal. Her journey demonstrated that with the right support, with community backing, one could overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. As winter slowly gave way to spring, Emma's life transformed. The cold, difficult days were becoming memories. Her future was bright, filled with possibility. And it all started with a simple conversation in a community center, with a retired teacher who saw potential where others saw just another struggling young woman. The village of Millbrook had embraced one of its own, and in doing so, they had changed a life forever. Emma's first day of nursing classes felt like stepping into a different world. The classroom was bright, filled with younger students who looked at her with a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. She was older than most, her hands marked by years of hard work, her eyes holding a depth of experience that set her apart. Mr. Thomas Baker, her nursing instructor, was a tall man with kind eyes and a no-nonsense approach to education. He noticed Emma immediately, not just her age but her determination. During the first lecture, while other students took casual notes, Emma's pen moved furiously, capturing every single word. The first few weeks were challenging. Emma worked her bakery shifts in the morning, attended classes in the afternoon, and continued her evening cleaning jobs. Sleep became a luxury. Her body ached, but her spirit remained unbroken. She would often study late into the night, her mother's photograph watching over her small study corner. Her classmates initially kept their distance. Young Thomas Wright and Emily Peterson would whisper and exchange glances when Emma spoke. They couldn't understand how someone her age could be starting a new career. But Emma didn't care. She had faced much harder challenges in her life. During a practical medical training session, everything changed. A complex case study required deep understanding and practical thinking. While younger students struggled, Emma's real-life experiences began to shine. Her practical approach, her ability to think quickly and compassionately impressed everyone. Mr. Baker recognized her potential. He began staying after class, offering her additional guidance. "You have something special," he would tell her. "Your life experience is your greatest strength." These words became her motivation during the most difficult moments. The local community continued to support her. Margaret from the bakery would pack extra sandwiches for her long days. The local shopkeepers would ask about her progress, their eyes filled with pride. Emma was no longer just surviving. She was proving that dreams had no age limit. Her cleaning job at the community center became her secret study space. During quiet moments, she would review medical journals, practice medical terminologies, and prepare for her upcoming exams. Her determination was becoming legendary in Millbrook. Financial challenges remained constant. Some weeks, she would have only bread and tea for meals. But Emma never complained. She remembered her mother's teachings about resilience and hope. Each difficult moment was another step towards her dream. The nursing program was challenging. Anatomy, medical procedures, patient care. Each subject demanded complete commitment. Emma approached each challenge like she had approached her previous struggles, with patience, hard work, and unwavering hope. Her classmates began to change their perspective. They started asking her for advice, recognizing her experience and wisdom. Thomas Wright, who had initially been dismissive, became one of her strongest supporters. He would help her with technical assignments, recognizing her determination. Emma's transformation was not just academic. She was discovering a confidence she never knew she possessed. The scared, struggling girl from the bakery was becoming a strong, capable woman with a clear purpose. The community watched her journey with pride. Mrs. Elizabeth Wright would tell everyone, "That's Emma Thompson. She's proving that it's never too late to chase your dreams." Her story became an inspiration for many in Millbrook. Her mother's dream was becoming a reality. Every medical term she learned, every procedure she mastered, felt like a tribute to the woman who had taught her to never give up. Emma could almost hear her mother's voice encouraging her. As her first year of nursing school progressed, Emma realized she was not just learning to be a nurse. She was learning about herself, about her strength, about her ability to overcome seemingly impossible challenges. Millbrook had become more than a village. It had become her support system, her family. Each person had played a role in her journey. From Margaret's extra sandwiches to Mr. Baker's guidance, Emma's story was proving one simple truth. Dreams don't have an expiration date. With determination, support, and hard work, anything is possible. Her journey was just beginning, and she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. 2 years passed like a beautiful, challenging journey. Emma stood on the graduation stage, her nursing diploma clutched tightly in her hands. The entire village of Millbrook had come to watch her moment of triumph. Her journey had not been easy. Countless nights of studying, working multiple jobs, and managing impossible schedules had led to this moment. Her uniform was crisp, her eyes bright with achievement. Behind her, her mother's photograph was pinned to her graduation gown, a silent witness to her incredible journey. Mr. Richard Harris, her once unsympathetic landlord, sat in the front row. Something in his eyes had changed. He looked at Emma with respect, understanding the tremendous journey she had undertaken. The man who once told her to fix things herself now saw a qualified nurse who had done exactly that, fixed her own life. The local community center was packed. Margaret from the bakery wiped tears, Mr. Peter Williams stood proudly, and Mrs. Elizabeth Wright beamed with joy. They had watched Emma transform from a struggling young woman to a qualified nurse. During her graduation speech, Emma's voice trembled with emotion. 2 years ago, I was cleaning floors and wondering if I could ever achieve my dream, she said. Today I stand here as a nurse, ready to help others. The audience erupted in applause. Her nursing instructor, Mr. Thomas Baker, presented her diploma. "Emma represents everything a true nurse should be," he announced. "Compassion, determination, and an unbreakable spirit." His words echoed through the hall. Emma's classmates, who had initially doubted her, now surrounded her with congratulations. Thomas Wright, who had become a close friend, helped her adjust her graduation cap. The young students who once whispered now looked at her with genuine admiration. After the ceremony, the entire village celebrated. The local pub hosted a special dinner. The bakery made a massive congratulatory cake, and people shared Emma's story. She had become more than just a nurse. She had become a symbol of hope for the entire community. Her first nursing job came at the local hospital, the same place where her mother had received treatment years ago. Emma saw it as a beautiful circle of life, from being a daughter who cared for her dying mother to becoming a nurse who would care for others. The hospital staff quickly recognized her exceptional skills. Her life experiences made her more than just a technical nurse. She understood patient care on a deeper, more emotional level. Her colleagues admired her ability to connect with patients, to offer comfort beyond medical treatment. Emma never forgot her roots. She would often bring pastries from Margaret's bakery to the hospital, share stories with patients, and remind everyone that life's challenges were just opportunities in disguise. Her mother's lessons continued to guide her. Mr. Harris, witnessing her success, did something unexpected. He reduced her apartment rent permanently, telling her, "You've earned this." The gesture symbolized how her journey had transformed not just her life, but the perspectives of those around her. The community center where Mrs. Wright had first offered her the scholarship now displayed her photograph. "Local hero," the caption read. Young students would look at her image, understanding that dreams knew no age, no limitation. Emma's life was no longer about survival. It was about thriving. She had transformed her pain into purpose, her struggles into strength. Every challenge she had faced had prepared her for this moment of triumph. Her mother's photograph, now framed in her small apartment, seemed to smile. The promise made years ago had been fulfilled. Emma had not just survived, she had conquered. Millbrook had watched an ordinary woman do something extraordinary. She had proven that with determination, support, and hard work, one could rewrite their entire life story. As evening fell on her graduation day, Emma stood by her apartment window. The village lights twinkled, a testament to the community that had supported her. She was no longer the struggling young woman working 2 jobs. She was a qualified nurse, a daughter, a dream chaser. Her journey was a reminder that life's most beautiful stories are not about perfection, but about persistence, about believing in oneself when no one else does, about turning challenges into stepping stones. Emma Thompson had arrived, and her story was just beginning.